Welcome to the Muscle Up Masterclass. This is the most complete video about this iconic calisthenics exercise that you're going to find on the internet. We're going to be discussing how to unlock your first muscle up rep as a beginner. We'll cover the most common myths and mistakes that a lot of beginners face when trying to unlock this exercise. I'll also be talking about how to structure a muscle up workout, putting it all together in an optimal design so that you can make the fastest progress possible. So if you're someone that's new on your calisthenics journey, or you just want to make your muscle ups more refined and more strict, this solo podcast today is for you. My name's Daniel Vadnal. I've been doing calisthenics for 16 years. I'm a physiotherapist, but most importantly, I love bodyweight training. I'm obsessed about it, and I want to share with you everything that I know, the most important stuff, so you can make as best gains possible with your training. It's a long one today, it's a big boy, but with respect for your time, I've attached the timestamps so that you can just jump to the chapters that are most helpful for you. But first, big news. New Fitness FAQs program has just gone live, Muscle Up Pro. To celebrate, we're having a launch sale, 50% off. Click the top link in the description to cop the program today, because soon we're raising the price. So don't miss out. All right, the muscle up, what is it? It's an exercise where you combine a pull-up, a transition, and a dip into one seamless movement. It's all about starting from underneath the bar and then using your own strength and coordination to get yourself up and over the bar. So why should you learn the muscle up? It is the most fun exercise that you're going to do. Seriously, when I first started doing calisthenics when I was 16 years old, this was one of my gateway exercises. When I first unlocked this movement, I was hooked on bodyweight training, and I haven't looked back 16 years later. I'm still going. Bit of an OG now, and I know that if you unlock this exercise as well, it's just going to ignite this passion for doing bodyweight training. It is just when you overcome gravity and you're doing it with just your body, you've built up your capacity to be able to fling yourself over the bar. It's epic. It's such a good sense of gratification that you've done the work and now you can celebrate it. You can enjoy it. It is a real feeling of freedom. You're flying through the air. You can feel the breeze going, and you just feel really beastly as you're doing this, and you're repping it out back and forth, back and forth. You feel like a human spring when you're doing it for reps. Muscle ups, they look really impressive. To someone that hasn't seen a muscle up before, just someone in public or at a gym, friend, family, they are going to be in awe. They'll be shocked. They won't be able to believe how you're able to do this exercise, because most people, they struggle with pull-ups. They can't do a pull-up, or they can barely squeeze out a few reps. And here you are underneath the bar, being able to get yourself over. It looks really, really cool. You're going to get admiration from people. I guarantee it. People are going to stop and stare at the gym. If you're training at the park, onlookers will just literally stop and stare at you. It's a pretty cool feeling. We all enjoy that sense of being admired and respected. And if you can do muscle ups, you will definitely get that. I can guarantee. I've been in gyms where I'm doing weightlifting and you just look like everyone else. It's just so stock standard. You pull out a muscle up and people will be, wow, were you a gymnast? How did you learn that? That looks impossible. I can't believe you did that. The admiration, it's a cool feeling. It never gets old. The muscle up is a skill, and it's a demonstration of your body's foundation. So it's an incentive to get really good at your weighted pull-ups, your chest to bar pull-ups. And if you strengthen your body, you increase its power, you're going to be able to do muscle ups as a byproduct of that. That's what I love about the muscle up. It is a good test. It's a good measure of how strong you are, your pound for pound strength, relative strength. If it's not good, you're not going to be able to move your body explosively. So this is what's always been really fun about calisthenics, having that performance goal. If you just train for looks, it's going to get stale really soon because progress is so slow in the aesthetic and muscle building department. If your training is focused on performance, my weighted pull-up numbers are going up, I'm lifting heavier, I'm more explosive, and I'm pulling up higher on my chest to bar pull-ups. You won't be short of motivation. I'll tell you that much. You will enjoy your training and you'll be really eager to keep pushing the limits of what you can do with calisthenics. And what's fantastic, you'll get stronger, you'll look better, because focusing on performance and what your body can actually do, its function, it gives you all the benefits without putting your attention where it's not as sustainable for you in terms of a healthy mindset, longevity, focusing on performance, focusing on strength, focusing on skill. It's where the real magic is with training. Muscle ups, they're a power exercise. Plyometrics, you're going to improve your rate of force development. So how quickly you can contract your muscles in your upper body. It is a underrated attribute of training for sure. Most people, they'll either go for endurance or they might just lift heavy weights at a slow pace. But by building up your power, it makes you well-rounded. It improves your athleticism. And doing so with calisthenics really does help to unlock the full potential of your body. Muscle ups, they're a technical exercise requiring coordination, timing, and there's a lot of skill. There is something refreshing about starting a new exercise like this, feeling awkward and just really disconnected with your body, but with practice, with reps, feeling that transformation in terms of getting more skillful at a movement. It's really fun because if you just jump on a machine, it's so easy. You just push, all the stability's there. But something like a muscle up, it has skill and it shows because you can't just get this for free. It has to be earned. The muscle up is a gateway skill. It's easier than front levers and planches, but it's a nice stepping stone from movements like pull-ups and dips. So for those of you that are on your journey and you want to really expand and get into the world of skills, muscle ups are a great way to get started. When it comes to getting your first muscle up, there are some prerequisites that you should have before starting training this exercise. I recommend 10 bodyweight pull-ups with your chin above the bar. This is a basic foundation of pulling strength that you need in your back and your biceps and all of that scapular stability and rotator cuff strength, core work, posture that comes from just being able to do 10 pull-ups. If we look at a muscle up, the other component is above the bar. We have to be able to do 10 straight bar dips with a full range of motion, getting yourself all the way down, chest touching the bar. If you can't do this level of pull or push, you've got a little bit of work to do because that foundation is necessary before starting specific muscle up work. You need enough force to overcome your body weight. This is strength. And you also need this applied with enough speed to generate power so that you can clear the bar. So for those of you that can already do 10 bodyweight pull-ups, 10 straight bar dips, your journey has just begun. To do muscle ups, you need to build up your foundation even more in a few of these criteria. Here's some numbers that I recommend that you strive for in terms of goals. If you reach them, you'll get the muscle up. For the pull-up, being able to do plus 25% of your body weight added for 5 reps. If you're someone who weighs 70 kilos, this means doing 5 reps of the pull-up with plus 17.5 kilos. This is taking care of your strength. Now, this is the important goal. 3 chest to bar pull-ups. This is where most people lack on their muscle up journey because this is about power development to be able to get yourself up and over the bar, being able to overcome that transition. What's not spoken about enough is core strength. You need to be able to do a 30-second hollow body hold at a minimum to have the strength in your abs to keep your body rigid during muscle ups. Because a strong hollow body, this keeps your body tight and you have better force transfer through your kinetic chain. Because if you have a weak core, we've all seen those people when they try a muscle up, it essentially looks like a worm. Their body is arching and it reflects in their inability to pull up explosively. Say you're strong enough to do muscle ups, you meet these standards that I've just outlaid, but you still can't do a muscle up. What is the problem solving here? Because you have the power, you have the strength, you just don't have the technique and the skill. So yours is a bit more straightforward of using muscle up regressions that make the movement easier. You can get in tons of quality reps and a lot of volume. And then before you know it, you can take off the training wheels and try that full muscle up. Moving on to the muscle up technique itself. Let's cover this from the top down, everything that you need to know, what I recommend for optimal positioning so that you can make yourself as efficient and as effective as possible when training. Starting with the hands and the elbows, I recommend having the hands around shoulder width or slightly wider. We do this because it improves the vertical drive when we're doing our pull phase. With the elbows, you want to keep them tucked in around the scapular plane, so not completely flared, not completely tucked in, pinned by your side. Somewhere in between that works best. With the grip, when you're holding the bar, I recommend using a semi-false grip. If we look at a normal grip, you have the bar between the middle of your palm and you're hanging directly underneath it. A full false grip is where you put the bottom of your palm, that pisiform bone, over the bar. A semi-false grip is in between those two extremes. The reason for the semi-false grip is it engages your forearm flexor muscles so they can contribute to the pull. Your wrist is stacked over the bar, which makes that transition phase a little bit easier because you don't have to rotate the wrist as much when you're trying to get up and over the bar. Relating to the hands, always use chalk. I can't stress the importance of applying chalk to your hands so that you can stick to the bar. Sweaty hands, it's going to make your grip strength less. You're going to be slipping. It is the most rookie mistake that you can make. And it's such a simple fix. With dry hands, it increases friction. It makes it easier for you to hold that semi-false grip. It improves your stability. It improves your strength through the bar because you're locked in. It is just the easiest thing that you can do. I recommend liquid chalk to keep your training environment clean, and just apply the chalk all over the hand, all over your palms. Apply some chalk to the bar as well. With shoulder positioning during muscle ups, you want to keep your scapula depressed. This increases stability and it also shortens the distance that you have to pull. With your core, keep a hollow body position. This is going to have your body working as one integrated unit, and having a hollow body for your pull-ups, it encourages you to pull in the correct movement path. With the pulling path, you basically want to pull during a muscle up on that backswing. You're going to be pulling in a C shape away and towards the bar. So if we look at a normal pull up, you're going pretty much straight up and down. With a muscle up, you have to go in a C-shaped arc so that your chest can clear the bar in a transition. When you're doing it, it's all about timing. You've got to time it perfectly as you're going through that initial backward swing so that you can generate a powerful pull and get over the bar. Because if you time it incorrectly and you pull too early, your chest is going to hit the bar and you're going to get a blocked transition. If you pull too late, you're going to be going in a massive arc. You're either not going to do the muscle up or it's going to be so inefficient. So we've got a shoulder width grip. We know that we need to depress the shoulders, keep a hollow body position. We need to time the pull on the backswing. If you've done all of that correctly and you're getting your chest near the bar, now we're at the transition. As you've reached the highest part of your pull, you're going to quickly rotate the wrists over, throw your chest forward, and hopefully you've got yourself over the bar. The rest is really easy. You just have to do a dip to complete the rep. The dip, no one's failing that. Once you've gone over the bar and you've got that prerequisite level of strength, pat yourself on the back, celebrate this victory of overcoming that muscle up. Just a note on kipping, it is fine for beginners to use at the start, especially when you're trying to learn the muscle up and get some success. What I recommend for learning how to kip is do a hollow body hold on the floor and put your arms overhead. Try and knee yourself in the chest as explosively as you can. This is basically what a kip is like. You're using that leg drive. I just find that when beginners are first doing muscle ups and they try and kip, they're doing it very timidly. And if you do it on the floor, you don't have all of that complexity of hanging and all the things you have to think about with your body. Do a few reps, hollow body hold, practice your kip. Then when you go on the bar, you can do so with confidence and aggression, and it'll translate very nicely. Of course, your goal is calisthenics strength and strict muscle ups. So over time, reduce the amount of kip that you're using. It is achievable for you. I have faith that if you pay attention to this video, the progressions, the exercises, it's not a matter of if, but when you will do a strict muscle up. It looks harder than it actually is, but it's not that difficult to unlock if you know how. The muscle up has many myths and misconceptions spread online, and a lot of them are not true. So I'm going to address them one by one and dispel some of these common myths and mistakes. Finding out the truth. Muscle ups are just a party trick to show off. It comes down to a lack of understanding of the muscle up, how it's used, why it's used, benefits of the exercise. And I think when it comes to new movements that people aren't familiar with or can't do themselves, it's easy to throw shade at something. Muscle up's a party trick. It's a gimmick. I'm not going to bother. I'm going to stick to the real stuff like lifting weights or something like that. I would disagree with that. It depends on how it's used, where it's used, and your real intention of it. So no, muscle ups aren't just a party trick. I would say they are a key movement in calisthenics where, when done strict, they can be done for high reps as a test of endurance, or they can also be done with added weight to measure your pound for pound relative as well as absolute strength with how heavy you can add weight to your body and still do a muscle up. Next up, you need 20 pull-ups before doing muscle ups. Myth. No. 20 reps is a sign of endurance. I can't tell you how many people I've seen who can do 20 pull-ups in a row, chin above the bar, but they can't do a single muscle up. It's because they're training a different attribute. That is way too many reps before starting specific training for muscle ups. I recommend 10 pull-ups as a foundation level of strength because you need to be doing strength work. You need to be doing low reps, 5 reps around there for your weighted pull-ups to build up your force production. You also have to be doing those power pull-ups, your chest to bar pull-ups. It really is a matter of quality over quantity with this type of training. It's about building up the right attributes. In short, people that can do at least 10 pull-ups and they build up their weighted pull-up and their chest to bar pull-ups can unlock muscle ups without ever having to get 20 plus reps on the pull-up. Muscle ups ruin your shoulders. I'm going to say false. Any exercise without the right preparation can be risky, can be dangerous. The risk really comes from poor prep. Having a weak pull-up or dip base is a no-no because you don't have that foundation level of strength and connective tissue resilience. Or if you have limited mobility, you got to have enough shoulder internal rotation mobility, enough extension, as well as wrist extension and wrist flexion. If you have enough range of motion in those joints and you have enough strength, I don't see the muscle up as being a dangerous movement or something that's going to kill your shoulders. If you progressive overload your training on muscle ups and you're working on your mobility at the same time, I see the muscle up as being a safe exercise for most. You don't have to wait until you've got perfect mobility, whatever that means. If you are lacking some range of motion, keep training the muscle up regressions and exercises with a full range of motion, and eventually you're going to expand how far you can go in your muscle ups, how deep you can go, how comfortable you are as well. That's the key. The most beneficial mobility that you can do is in the movements themselves. If you want to do a little bit of extra homework at the same time, after your workout, you can work on your shoulder extension, shoulder internal rotation, and your wrist mobility. Perfect. I would recommend that. I would also recommend including some stuff in your warm-up for your shoulder joint, for your wrist, for your rotator cuff, as well as your scapula, to put you in a good position to feel comfortable in the exercise itself. Band muscle-ups are bad. They create bad habits. False. Of course, if you're using bands and you're using the heaviest band possible and you're over-relying on it, you can't even feel any resistance. Of course, band muscle-ups, they're going to be a waste of time because your body isn't doing anything at all. When band muscle-ups are used with just a little bit of assistance, barely enough for you to get a few reps in your training, that is the smartest way to go about it because you're refining your technique, you're building up your skill at a lower intensity, and you're just getting your reps in. That's really key, being able to get your reps in. Where people fall short with band muscle-ups is if they only use band muscle-ups. Just say someone's program, I want to get better at muscle-ups. I'm going to do band muscle-ups for 45 minutes. It's not a good idea because you're not building up your foundation. You need to still work on your pulling, your pushing, your core work. That is the perfect combination. You use an exercise for skill work with bands, and then you have to do the work. You can't skip the work on these basics. Only light or short people can do muscle-ups. This is false. The muscle-up can be learned by people who are taller and heavier. The same progressions, the same exercises, they work for everyone. The only thing is, it might take you longer. Your journey will be a little bit more difficult, but it's not to say it's impossible. I've seen tons of people who are 6 foot, weigh more than 90 kilos, achieve the muscle up, strict, no kipping, on a bar, on the rings. It is becoming very, very common now. So if you're someone that is in that position, do not lose faith. A really short person who's light is going to be able to do so many more reps, hold an exercise longer in calisthenics because they've got the advantage of leverages. With shorter limbs, their muscles can pull on that. Those joint angles are more favorable. Their force production is better with that by comparison with someone who's got longer limbs, longer levers. It's just going to be more difficult. I will say, if you have a higher level of body fat percentage, say you're 15 to 20% body fat, of course, if you can get a little bit leaner, anything in calisthenics will get easier. It's going to improve your relative strength. If you have more fat, you've got less functional mass that is helping you in the exercise. It's essentially weighing you down. It's like you're wearing a weight vest. So my recommendation, if you're really serious about calisthenics, clean up that diet, get that body fat percentage lower. Somewhere around that 10 to 15% is sustainable and healthy for most people. And this is what is great about muscle up training. It is an incentive to stay on your diet, to keep your body, your level of leanness on point, because you'll really feel the difference in terms of how explosive you are, how easy the muscle up feels. It can be the simple solution. It sounds really straightforward, but it's an honest truth that I have to say because I care. Kipping muscle ups are cheating. It's not a real muscle up if you have to use momentum. This really depends on your definition. If you're doing CrossFit, kipping, swinging, it's encouraged and that's cool. If you're a beginner new to muscle ups, why not use a kip to learn the movement and get the movement unlocked in some capacity to at least have some motivation to keep going further? Unless you're competing in something where they say you can't do kips, you can't use momentum, it's your body, it's your training program. Do whatever you want, man. Who cares by someone's arbitrary definition of what you got to do with your body? Training is something that you have the reins over. You can be the boss of what you want to do. Use it at the start, but over time, I would recommend kipping less because doing strict muscle ups, it makes you feel like a boss. It makes you master the movement in its most pure sense. But saying that kipping is bad, strict is good, it really depends on where you're at in your journey, what you're using it for. I would say just do you. Just do you. Once you can do one muscle up, skip the basics. You just have to spam muscle ups, bro, to get better at them. This is false. This is a classic problem that people face in skills and strength skills where you get it. You're excited. Yes, I finally unlocked the muscle up. I'm going to put all of my energy, all my training time into this one exercise. And that is a recipe for Plateau City, I can tell you, because the muscle up, it doesn't overload the pull up or dip phase enough for ongoing gains. We can't forget about injuries and overuse problems as well. Such an unspoken part of training is preventing injury, longevity by doing the basics alongside your muscle ups. Your body will have the resilience to be able to handle the demands of plyometric muscle ups. The bro who just does muscle ups until he can't muscle up no more at the expense of everything else is going to run into issues and injuries, which I'll explain later. The second rep of a muscle up is easier than the first. True. This is because as you're coming down from the support above the bar, you lower through the dip, and then you get to the hang. You pull up into your next muscle up. You're using stored elastic energy, that stretch reflex at the bottom, to essentially propel yourself up into the next rep. Ring muscle ups are easier than bar muscle ups. In a way, they are easier because the transition, you've got the chest free to move through there. Whereas on a bar, you've got to pull up higher to get your torso up and over the bar. But the added instability of rings, it demands more control and stability at your shoulders to be able to pull through that path with your own body's strength. But ring versus bar for muscle ups, they're different challenges, and the specificity of strength really applies. If you always train bar muscle ups, you will find them easier. If you always train ring muscle ups, you're going to find them easier. But the good news is, if you lay down that foundation of the basics, I sound like a broken record, but it really is the most important thing for your training. You're going to be able to learn either the bar or the ring with some training. You need 10 bodyweight muscle ups before adding weight. False. This is way too much of a buffer. Same thing as the 20 pull-ups before starting muscle up training. You can start working on weighted muscle ups once you've achieved 5 strict clean reps without kipping, because we start entering more moderate rep range. Then we go beyond that, it starts being more endurance. Strength, you got to have those low reps. It's got to be heavy, and it's a completely different style of training and different attributes. Don't waste time doing so many reps if your goal is weighted. For beginners in calisthenics who are new to muscle ups, what are the most important regressions that you should be training? The jumping muscle up plus a negative is an awesome exercise. It really does give you everything that you need with developing your body weight strength, because by jumping, it allows you to learn the technique of pulling in that arc motion, getting through that transition, and getting your dip to the top helps you. But by reversing the movement, eccentrics are helpful with calisthenics because you're building strength in reverse. So by lowering through that dip, controlling that transition through the high pull, lowering down into that dead hang, you're grooving that neurological pattern of the muscle up, but it's much easier because we're stronger in reverse. As a beginner, I really do like this for developing skill, technique, and coordination because it scales the movement at an intensity that's relevant to you. If you're new to the jumping muscle up, you're going to use your legs a ton to get yourself up and over the bar. Your negative is going to be pretty quick because you lack the strength, but over time, you can use your legs less to get through that jump phase. And then as you lower down with the negative, as you get stronger, you can go slowly. You can capture strength through every degree. So this way, when you're working on your basics at the same time, you're building up your pull-ups, you're working on your dips, you're combining that now with some skill work with this jumping muscle up. It's really going to help. The band muscle up is an underrated tool for developing your technique. And when used correctly, it really is a valuable tool in your toolbox because you're practicing technique, timing, coordination. You've reduced some of your body weight so the muscle up doesn't feel as heavy and as hard. It develops success in beginners. It gives you that feeling of flying. And the real key here is you've got to use band muscle ups properly. Not a huge thick band where you're just bouncing. You can be laughing, chatting to your mate at the same time. Oh man, look, I'm doing a band muscle up. And you're just using the thickest band possible. I want you to use one that challenges you. It should be difficult to do a few reps of that muscle up. It should challenge you in the 3 to 5 rep range. That's the secret there. That's a good reference for you to use with your band muscle ups, because building up strength, the band's not helping too much or too little. The muscle up is an exercise where many people struggle with it, arising a lot of problems and difficulties with doing the movement successfully. I'm going to help you troubleshoot these issues. Being stuck at the transition or chicken winging. You're pulling up, your chest gets to the bar, and you just get stuck, or you manage to get to the top of the pull-up and then you bring one arm over at a time, the other arm over. That's called chicken winging. These issues are stopping you from doing that muscle up the way you want it, just in one seamless motion. How do you fix it? You've got to work on your chest to bar pull-ups to build up your explosive power. You've got to keep doing your weighted pull-ups, building up your strength in low rep ranges. You need to use muscle up regressions to refine the skill and technique of the exercise. You've got more work to do, basically. The worm body muscle up. This is where you jump on the bar, you go to do that backswing, and then you're just turning essentially into a human worm. You're all just wiggling around. Your core is disconnected from your upper body, and you just feel this lack of strength as you go to do the muscle up. I would advise that your core strength is lacking. You've got to work on anti-extension exercises. You've got to work on some hip flexor strength as well to make sure that you can hold your core, brace your posture, so that you can pull correctly. Worm muscle ups also a result of a lack of shoulder stability. I'd be working on my scap pulls and building up my pulling strength so that when I go to swing in a muscle up, that my body can stay rigid, tight, and I can pull correctly. Many people get stuck at doing 1 to 2 reps of the muscle up, and then they plateau. They just can't improve their reps no matter how hard they try, how often they do their muscle ups. Nothing seems to give. You're probably not doing your basics enough. You gotta keep strengthening up that foundation. I would almost step away from the muscle up and direct all of your attention to pulling, pushing, core strength, because you're probably spending too much effort on the muscle up when you haven't built up that foundation. The muscle up, you've got to remember, is a representation of what your body can do. And if you don't have the raw materials with your basic strength, it's just not going to budge. Bad muscle ups can be caused by bad equipment. If you're training on a rig that is really shaky, your pull-up bar swings around all over the place, and you're trying to do an explosive dynamic exercise like a muscle up, you're going to be weaker by virtue of your environment. So I really recommend, if you can, find a stable setup at a park, a gym, or get the best way of securing your bar at home. Wall-mounted stuff works really great, or just finding a piece of equipment that allows you to have stability. Because if you're losing that with the surface of what you're training on, the muscle up is going to feel worse and your performance is going to be lower. Training on a pull-up bar that is either too thick or too narrow is really frustrating for muscle ups. If possible, using a 32 millimeter bar is going to feel most comfortable, and your muscle ups will thank you for it. Not using chalk or not taping up your bar can make your performance lower, just because if you're slipping, you're not gripping, and you're not ripping those muscle ups. It's the easiest fix that you can do. Chalk up, get that bar taped up, and you'll be nicely gripped and adhered to the bar. What are the most common muscle up injuries, and how do we prevent them? At the elbow, golfer's elbow, tendinopathy, sometimes it's called tendinitis, where you're getting an overuse of the flexor and pronator grip, is very, very common, especially when you're doing a ton of pulling. Sprains in the wrist are also possible. This can be caused when you're going into that transition and you're just throwing your full body weight onto the wrist if it doesn't have enough mobility or preparation. Anterior shoulder pain or impingement can happen with muscle ups, especially when we're forcing ourselves into internal rotation as well as extension if you're lacking stability around your scapula. Rotator cuff tendinopathy, those stabilizing muscles around your shoulder, can experience overuse, aches, and pains when you're new to a plyometric type of exercise. With the hands, callus tears are the worst nuisance that can happen with muscle ups because of all the friction of moving the skin, your palms rotating over the bar again and again. Easiest way to mitigate this is by trimming or shaving your calluses every 1 to 2 weeks to flatten the surface of your hands. Because if you don't, you could succumb to a callus tear. They're tender, they hurt, it really ruins your calisthenics sessions. So a bit of hand care, hand maintenance is something that you're going to have to do to prevent pain and injury with muscle up training. The best thing that you can do is patient overload. We've got to progress our volume slowly, build up our load tolerance in our joints, in the shoulders, in the elbows, in the wrists. If you try to do as much training as possible, as quickly as possible, then you're going to run into potential aches, niggles, and pain. The patient way of doing it is the best, and it is the only way, because that's how your body becomes more resilient. Never skip your warm-up of your rotator cuff, your scapula, your wrists, your shoulders. Get that moving before a session, because with plyometric muscle ups and heavy pull-ups, explosive pull-ups, there's a lot of joint forces, but you got to be prepared for that. You can't just jump straight into it. A warm-up is not only recommended, it's a non-negotiable. Continue doing your mobility work for your shoulders, your wrists. Do your rotator cuff strengthening in addition to your muscle up training, but always just use a full range of motion and you will develop that mobility. That's the best possible prevention. By training with an extended range of motion, you'll build up your ability to do so. People run into issues when they lack mobility and they force their body into a position. Always listen to your body. Don't push through pain. Your body is the smartest teacher. It's always sending you signals. For muscle ups, the pull phase, where you're trying to get yourself over the bar, is the most important part of this skill. But what are the best pull-up exercises to increase this attribute? The chest to bar pull-up should be one of your primary exercises in your muscle-up training. It's all about trying to increase power, increase range of motion, so that you're actually able to overcome that transition. The benefit of chest to bar pull-ups is it develops that explosive strength, your rate of force development, how quickly your muscles can generate force and explode. Doing things fast with your pull-ups requires specific training, and the chest to bar pull-up accomplishes this. Interestingly, power training with chest to bar pull-ups actually improves your weighted pull-ups as well, because there's an equation: force equals mass times acceleration. So if you want to improve your force, you can lift heavy weight on a pull-up slowly, or you can lift your body weight very quickly. With chest to bar pull-ups, you're doing your body weight, but you're trying to do that fast. So it helps to improve how much force your body can generate. You're developing power in your back, your lats, your traps, your rotator cuff, doing so explosively for muscle up mastery. Plyometric pull-ups like this build up your joint and tissue resilience so that you can handle the demands of muscle ups. Weighted pull-ups for low reps is one of the most essential things that you should be getting better at if you want to unlock muscle ups, because it's about developing max strength. We're overloading the same pulling pattern, but with more absolute pulling force. You add weight to your body, you're going to unlock this higher threshold of strength. The progressive overload of weighted pull-ups is what makes this exercise shine. You're going to keep the reps low so you can develop strength. Your goal is simple, but it's not easy. Keep adding weight linear progressive overload. The heavier that you can do with your pull-ups, you're going to get a better strength to weight ratio. It's going to improve that relative strength of how you can move your body around space, but also your absolute strength, how strong your back, biceps, all those important upper body muscle ups. By having a better strength to weight ratio, you're going to improve your relative strength, how easy it is to throw yourself up in a muscle up because you've built up your absolute strength. Having extra weight on your body, on your pull-ups, being able to do that with 25, 50% of your body weight, progressing towards that, it's going to make yourself feel as light as a feather. The L-sit pull-up is really effective for improving your muscle-ups. Because we're in a hollow body position with our legs extended, it forces you to pull in the correct arc motion. It challenges your lats more. You've got to keep your shoulders depressed. Everything is forced to use correct technique, activate the correct muscles, activate the correct movement pattern. It sucks. L-sit pull-ups are tough because your legs are kept straight. Your hip flexors will be screaming. Expect your performance on pull-ups to be reduced by around 50%. So if you can normally do 10 pull-ups as an example, you'll probably be doing 5 L-sit pull-ups and finding that difficult. Just doing bodyweight L-sit pull-ups is going to keep you challenged for a long time because you can go from chin to bar to chest to bar to stomach to bar. Don't worry about adding weight to your L-sit pull-ups. Just focus on doing really high quality reps, fast, big range of motion, and you'll find a nice transfer to your muscle ups. If the L-sit pull-up with completely straight legs is way too difficult for you, you're cramping up, your muscles are spasming, you just want to bend over and cry, then just bend your knees a little bit. It's going to give you most of the same benefits of the L-sit pull-up, but it's going to be a little bit more forgiving on your hip flexors. Over time, do your best to straighten out those legs and do real L-sit pull-ups. Despite muscle-ups being a vertical pull, you're doing pull-ups to get yourself over the bar. You can't neglect your horizontal rowing as well, because this builds balanced strength in your scapula, your rotator cuff, and it assists your body in being well-rounded. If you have a good horizontal pull and a sound vertical pull with your pull-ups, that's a complete picture. Your body's going to be ready for the demands of muscle-ups and anything else you want in calisthenics. When training inverted rows, I recommend doing a pronated grip because this is the most specific to bar muscle-ups. You're also going to be strengthening that semi-false grip, improving your back at the same time. Once your body weight gets too easy and you're repping this out, 15, 20 plus reps without a problem, I recommend adding weight to the exercise. You can do this with a dip belt anchored around your stomach to make more resistance on your back, or you can throw on a weight plate over your chest, stomach to make the exercise harder, or you can throw on a backpack with added weights, strap in, and get to work on building up your horizontal pull. My favorite horizontal pull with calisthenics is the front lever row. This is so much more challenging than an inverted row because now your legs are off the ground. You've got to row the full weight of your body. The goal is to keep your body horizontal, your shoulders level with your hips. Start out in the tuck position, keep the legs straight, and your goal here is to bring the chest to the bar. You're trying to contact that, get a full range of motion, and you'll be applying all good front lever mechanics, going down to a straight arm position at the bottom, and then doing your best to get that full ROM touch at the top. This one builds up your lats, it builds up your mid back, unlocks scapular stability, strengthens your abs, as well as your posterior chain. It's getting that bent arm and straight arm strength in a horizontal pull, and you're using your body weight. So it's got great transfer. It's a calisthenics movement to calisthenics muscle-ups. If you're serious about making front lever rows as effective as possible, your goal is to try and add pauses. It is brutal. At the bottom, in the hang, pause. At the top, when you're at the peak of the row, try and hold that top position. It is really tough because of the descending strength curve nature. It gets more difficult as you row towards the top. But by adding these top pauses on your front lever rows, it's going to transfer nicely to the transition phase of muscle ups. I can guarantee you that. If these progressions are helpful, Muscle Up Pro, it takes out all the guesswork. Check out our new program on fitnessfaqs.com, top link in the description. Stop guessing, start progressing, and I'll be your calisthenics coach. We can't neglect our pushing strength. The most important exercises you should do include the straight bar dip. With a muscle up, this is the most specific part of the exercise. It's about that transition and then pushing up to get yourself over the bar. Being able to have a deep straight bar dip is really helpful because the more mobility you've got here, the more strength you've got in that deep straight bar dip, the sooner you can overcome the transition phase and press out into the muscle up. The smartest way you can train is to rotate your dipping variations. As good as the parallel bar dip is, the straight bar dip has the best transfer to the muscle up because the exact same movement pattern. This prevents overuse injuries, aches, pains, and it's another form of progressing your dip to keep yourself making those gains. Think about it like this. The muscle up is a combined exercise where you've got that pull transition as well as the dip. If you only ever did muscle ups, you're never going to fully overload that dip part because you're limited by your explosive pulling strength and your ability to get over that transition phase. That's why part practice is so important. That's why we do our straight bar dips to fatigue. We train them in isolation. So that way, when we go to do the muscle up, it's nothing to us because we've built this surplus of pushing strength. The muscle up is an explosive exercise, so we should be training our pushing in an explosive way to prepare our body. The plyometric push-up is awesome. This one, essentially think of clapping push-ups where you're trying to explode up from the ground, getting as far away from the floor as possible, generating this power, explosiveness from your body alone. We've all seen this online. Someone's showing off doing these explosive push-ups and they're clapping or whatever, and they might as well be standing up because they've just weight shifted all the way to their lower body. When you're doing your plyo push-ups, keep your weight forward. You just want your upper body doing all the work. Plyometric push-ups are best trained for low reps with maximum intent. This is all about quality over quantity. I like to think of plyometric push-ups like sprinting versus jogging. Sprinting is done for high speed, maximum effort, short duration of time. The same thing applies to your plyometric push-ups. You're doing them as fast as you can for a short period of time. Of course, you listening, you can bang out 20 push-ups with ease. Your plyo push-ups, you want to make every rep that you do count. You're trying to push as fast as you can, as high as you can. It is a real different form of training. The carryover of plyometric push-up training is you're going to have smoother muscle-ups, smoother dips, and just be more explosive, period. And people look at the push-up and think, oh, it's too easy. What's the point? I'll just do dips and that's it. You got to train your body in different planes of motion to make it comprehensive. That's why we're going to be including weighted deficit push-ups. After you've done your muscle-up skill work, you've done your pulling, it's time to get into those horizontal push-ups as an accessory. These shine because of the elevated range of motion. You're getting more stretch through your upper body. You combine that with added weight, training relatively close to failure, and you've got a recipe for muscle building. Building up your horizontal press transfers to stronger dips, muscle ups, planches, handstands, handstand push-ups. It is going to assist you and is a perfect accessory. Weighted push-ups are a key horizontal pushing exercise that balances out your dip strength and it reinforces the fundamentals. The parallel bar dip is the squat of the upper body. It is unmatched for progressive overload, challenging your chest, shoulders, and triceps with a closed kinetic chain exercise, and you should be working up to at least 50% of your body weight added for reps. This is going to give you that foundation of strength, this surplus capacity that's going to make muscle ups a breeze. A common mistake when people do weighted dips, they let the weight plate swing around all over the place. The weight is essentially an extension of your body. If you keep this stable underneath you, your center of mass will remain within your base of support with your hands. So you're going to be stronger. Just squeeze that weight plate. This is going to make sure your dip technique is vertical, it's on lock, it's stable, it feels good. You'll perform better and you'll be able to lift more weight on your dips. Why I'm stressing the importance of having a strong, deep dip is because when you're doing muscle ups, if you can get yourself comfortable in the bottom of a dip, your transition is going to be so much easier. You'll be able to push sooner, which means you'll spare your back muscles in the muscle up, which is a really precious thing to do. Pause at the bottom. In that deep stretch, try and get yourself to 90 degrees or even deeper. Hold it for a second and then press out. The more time that we can spend in that deep dip, the better. We're going to enhance our shoulder mobility into extension. We're going to strengthen our body for that ever important transition phase. It really does help your muscle ups. Instead of doing weighted dips where you're just bouncing up and down really, really quickly, you're going to miss out on the adaptations that we want for this skill. Having a strong core is a must if you want muscle ups that look clean and feel strong. Here's the best exercises you should do. The hollow body hold is the fundamental exercise because if we just look at the posture of our body during this skill, we need to keep our body hollow. We need to engage our abs. We need to keep our ribs down. And doing this in a muscle up is no easy feat because we've got the dynamic demands of the exercise. We're swinging around. We're combining it with a pull up. So if our core is not strong enough to keep our posture on point, we're going to be wasting energy. We're going to be losing tension. And for many beginners, they can't do a muscle up because their core strength is letting them down. It's a bottleneck. Once you can do hollow body holds statically, no problem, 30, 60 seconds, move on to the hollow body rock. With this one, you're essentially adding in movement. You're making your body like a seesaw whilst you maintain that hollow body. It's all about having enough core strength to resist yourself from arching. Hollow body rocks, they closely match what's happening with a muscle up. There's movement. There's all of these things trying to stop you from holding that core position. And your body will adapt to the dynamic environment when there's movement in the mix. The final hollow body progression is the V-up. You're going to try and snap up using your hip flexors and you're going to touch your shins. Going back and forth is really challenging because now you got speed, you got movement, and it's going to burn your abs. You're essentially combining a hanging leg raise with a hollow body hold. If you're short on time and you want a really good bang for buck exercise that has good transfer to muscle ups, the V-up, it won't let you down. To build up your core strength for muscle ups, the ab wheel rollout is one of the undisputed kings of exercises you should be doing. In calisthenics, we're always trying to prevent ourselves from getting into that banana back, arched position, anterior pelvic tilt. That is an absolute sin when it comes to muscle ups because you're not going to be as powerful if you can't control your core. The ab wheel rollout is essentially a moving plank. All of the cues are the exact same. Ribs down, core engaged, glutes on, posterior pelvic tilt, but you're doing that at a longer lever as you extend the arms and the body in the rollout and trying to return back to the start. I love ab wheel rollouts because there's a ton of progression potential. It's not some gimmicky core exercise that you'll outgrow after a few workouts. You start kneeling, that's tough. Then you can do band assisted rollouts where you're standing and you have a band anchored around you to give you assistance as you extend to that full leverage, fully extended body. Over time, you reduce the band assistance and eventually you'll be doing standing ab wheel rollouts like a boss. The slow bar muscle up. How do you unlock it? This exercise is a pure strength challenge. There's no kip. There's no momentum. It's just strict pulling and pressing control. The best exercise by far is the false grip pull-up with a top pause. Having your wrist over the bar, it requires strong fingers, a strong grip, as well as specific forearm strength. You're going to build this by doing your false grip pull-ups because that way you'll get comfortable in the dead hang with the arms straight, and you'll also build up that joint-specific strength at the transition. If you just do false grip pull-ups really fast, you're not going to spend time in that important top position. But when you're pausing at the top of your pull-up when using a false grip for 1 to 3 seconds, you're really going to be able to dominate that transition when you try a slow bar muscle up. Negative muscle ups with a false grip are your best friend. I recommend jumping to the top of the bar and then lowering down slowly through that transition with a full false grip. We know we're stronger in reverse, and we know we're able to go slower when we're using eccentrics. Building strength in reverse, such a smart idea, because I know that you've got a basic level of pulling power, pulling strength. You can do dips no problem, but that false grip, that transition may be lacking in your case if you're trying to do slow bar muscle ups. Keep your training specific, work on your weak link, you'll unlock it in no time at all. If you ask me what is the optimal way to design a muscle up workout, here is how I'd structure it. I'd begin with muscle ups, using a regression, a band assisted muscle up, jumping muscle ups to work on the technique and skill when I'm most fresh at the start of the workout. I'd then move on to pull-ups, working on my power with chest to bar pull-ups or my strength with weighted pull-ups. I'd then continue on with dips, working on straight bar dips or weighted parallel bar dips, given they make up half of the muscle up movement itself. We now move on to the accessory part of the workout. I would do some horizontal rows, inverted rows, some type of front lever row in this area works perfectly to balance out your vertical pulling strength. The next accessory would be horizontal push-ups. Think about plyometric push-ups for power, weighted push-ups for strength, or even an archer push-up as a calisthenics variation. Lastly, core work. I'd be finishing with isometric holds as well as full range of motion movements to build up that anterior ab strength for muscle up mastery. I would be training this exercise 3 times per week, being really selective with what exercises I'm doing, how many reps I'm doing for each, and choosing my intensity correctly. Progressing your volume intelligently over the weeks is also important to make sure that you keep seeing progress. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Your next step is to go get Muscle Up Pro. It's the top link in the bio. This workout program is brand new. It's got programming for your level, step-by-step tutorials, absolutely everything you need to master the muscle up. Go ahead, check it out.